Bluetooth in a car is a great idea, right? Well, 350 million cars, 1 billion devices exposed to a one-click Bluetooth remote code execution. Mercedes, Skoda, Volkswagen, and an untold number of industrial, medical, mobile, and consumer devices may be vulnerable to an attack chain called PerfektBlue. It's a one-click RCE attack once again, only one click to gain access to the vehicle. In other words, you have to accept the pairing, but some vehicle manufacturers allow that by default. Here's a Mercedes entertainment system with a reverse shell. Basically, with a reverse shell, you get the car to access your system over TCP/IP, in other words, the protocol used on the internet, and you control the vehicle. In this example, we're using Netcat, and basically we get control of the vehicle from this computer. Notice here we have got Linux on the Mercedes. Here we see a different version of Linux on the Volkswagen, and on Skoda we can see Linux Skoda Infotainment System over here. The security researchers found that with remote code execution on the in-vehicle infotainment system, a hacker could track GPS coordinates, eavesdrop on conversations in the car, access phone contacts, and potentially move laterally to more critical subsystems in the vehicle. In other words, potentially they could get access to the braking system and other systems on the car. They don't have access to that immediately. They have to do more work to gain access to those systems because they're separate from the infotainment system. So attackers can use Bluetooth to potentially attack your car and take control of it, as well as many other devices. Now, to protect yourself against this PerfektBlue attack, you need to update your system or disable Bluetooth functionality entirely on your car. Aside from just cars, however, this Bluetooth SDK touches more than 1 billion embedded devices around the globe, including consumer, mobile, industrial, and medical industries. In modern cars, the infotainment system can be turned on without activating the ignition. So as an example, on the Volkswagen ID.4 and the Skoda Superb, this is not necessary, but it does vary from vehicle to vehicle. While initial access requires close physical proximity, an attacker could use PerfektBlue to plant remote access malware, enabling them to persist their attack over a network connection from anywhere in the world. Even the pairing is not cut and dry. It depends on the car. In the case of Mercedes-Benz, it's true. However, for the Volkswagen and Skoda, the attacker can initiate the pairing process remotely. That doesn't require a user to put the infotainment system in pairing mode. Very worrying that.